Hi everyone, this is Holly from Hot Humble Pie. Welcome to my channel if you're new, and a big warm hello to my subscribers. Well, today I'm going to craft a bunch of really pretty stuff, and as always, I hope you enjoy the show. And if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, I'd love it if you click that button. So for this next one, I found this really unique punch ladle at the Dollar General, and I just thought, you know, I'm going to make something with that. I saw something 2 years ago scrolling down on YouTube. I didn't watch the video, but I just saw the thumbnail, and I just always remembered it and thought, what a cute idea. So when I saw this, I thought, you know what, I'm going to try and make that DIY with this. I'm going to recreate it. So I took it outside again. I gave it the spray paint of primer, because with plastic, yeah, I don't even think Waverly chalk paint, it's not going to stick. You really do need to spray paint it to get things to stick. But I went ahead and I did that, and now I'm just taking some watered down antique wax, and I'm going to make this like a faux wooden spoon. That's what we're starting with. So I'm actually taking a tissue here. I'm not doing a baby wipe. This is like a piece of Kleenex folded up, and I'm going to give it one coat to begin with. I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to come back and do a second coat, because when you do that, it looks even more authentic, like wood grain, and you'll see that in just a minute. So here's my second coat, and see how it's kind of grabbing the previous wax? You can kind of see it. It like bunches up. I don't know if you missed that. It was on the handle there. You can see how it does that. It kind of bunches up in areas. I don't know why wax does that, but I absolutely love the fact that it does that, because it makes making faux wood so simple. So I even decided to go for some faux like wood knots. You know, I just twirled it just to see what would happen, and look, I think that's pretty decent. I mean, I just did it on a spur of a moment thing, so I was pretty pleased with that. So moving on, we are using a Dollar Tree Easter sign for this, and of course you can use any sign you want. And I'm going to take the hanger off, and we're going to go ahead and give this one coat of that folklore chalk paint in linen. And I bought that 18 months ago, and it's still going. So if you don't feel up to making homemade chalk paint, I will say that it is, you can even add a little bit of water. I mean, a little bit goes a long way, and I just get mine on Amazon, and it's very affordable, but it's still going, so I'm going to go ahead and use it up. So this is some paper I got from Amazon. It was just like under the category of antique music paper, and I thought this was so pretty, and we're just going to glue this wooden spoon, or faux wooden spoon, on top of the paper and the sign. I used a furniture marker from the Dollar Tree to distress the edge of this. It's in the color walnut. However, in hindsight, I would rather have it distressed with like the wax, so I'm probably going to paint that and go over it again, but in this video you'll see it with the marker. And then I also take some antiquing wax and go around the paper just to soften the edges. And I do tap those little holes at the top with a little bit of antique wax too, anywhere where there's an edge, and then I hang the twine, well, it wasn't the Dollar Tree twine, it's my own twine, and I stick a bird nest in it. This is what I saw, and this is what I thought was so cute. And this is actually something that you could change out with the seasons. If you use like a ticking stripe material on the sign, you could fill that little spoon full of like berries and pine and little deers or something during Christmas. I mean, you literally could change this with the seasons, but I just thought it was such a unique, cute idea. It's definitely like a perfect kitchen decor piece, and we're all done. I found these bowls at the Dollar General for $1. They do sell bowls like this at the Dollar Tree, and that big bowl is from the Dollar Tree. Most of you who shop at the Dollar Tree probably recognize it. I also used it as a lampshade in my solar hack video, and all I did was take E6000 and some hot glue, and I glued the two together like this. So make sure your glue gun is on low setting, because sometimes it can melt the plastic, but that's what you should have. And then I took it outside, I sprayed it down with this Rust-Oleum flat white primer. It bonds to plastic. I'm going to show you two colors here, but I really only used the elephant gray. I ended up going with the antique wax instead. And then I used the color plaster from Waverly and some baking soda. So we're pouring the plaster in there. I am going to add water, but I do it with a squirt squirt bottle so I can go really slowly, because you can always add more water in. You can't take it out. So I just want to make sure that I didn't make it too watery, because the consistency should be like a thick pancake batter when you're all done. For those of you wondering why I added water, it's because it makes it go a lot farther, and I know I wanted to layer this to build it up. So you could always use spackling from the Dollar Tree if you wanted to do this, but if you have baking soda on hand, you're good to go. So I started with a brush, and as you can see, I'm tapping it on. I didn't like that. And then I did a sponge, and I didn't really care for that either. That ends up being great for the next process, but not for the initial coat. I went with I think it's called a Doppler sponge, like it's for stencils. I went with this one. This one was the easiest to work with. And what I did is I painted it on first, and then kind of, up and down, tap, tap, tap. And that was what it looked like with one coat. Then that dried. So now we're on our second coat, and I'm going to lift it up so you can see where you're at with the second coat. See, we're starting to get the look of stucco, but I wanted it a little bit thicker than that, so I go for a third coat. So this is still a second coat. I'm just showing you more of it so you can see, because some people may want to stop there. Now, while you're doing this, it is normal for the baking soda to ball up into a little ball of powder as you're working, and you just do a little circle like I did, a little swirl, and then spread it out and tap, tap again, and it goes away, and it's all good. So for under the rim there, it got clumped up a little bit under the rim of this bowl. I end up taking a paintbrush dipped in water, and I just go along the edge, just smooth it underneath the rim, and it works perfect for that. So now we are finishing up our third coat. I didn't make you watch all that. This is the third coat, and the very last thing I did was the bottom of the bowl. And when it's dry, right now, I'm holding it up so you can see the result. Isn't that beautiful? I'm going closer, and you'll see it even better when I paint it. It's absolutely beautiful, and it's perfect for the next thing we're going to do. So I grabbed the elephant gray. Oh, I wanted to show you, I did end up doing the under part too. I don't know why, you don't have to do that. No one's ever gonna see it, but I really loved the way this looked, and I didn't want anyone to know it was plastic, so I went for the under part. So I grabbed the elephant gray, and I end up putting it on with a Doppler, and honestly, I thought I ruined it. I really did. I was like, oh my gosh, you have to be kidding me. I just did all this work. But I discovered if you have that spray bottle of water, you can fix anything, because the baking soda is on there so strong. It is like cement when it dries. So you'll see me do it here with the squirt bottle. I just tap on. Now I was telling you how the sponge worked better. For this part, the sponge worked better, and you're just tapping it on, spray a little bit of water, smear it a little bit, just in areas so you like what it looks like, and then you leave some of it alone, and see how you're starting to get that look right there. That's exactly what you want. So you just have to keep playing with it, have fun, don't panic. You just have to, if you do make a mistake, you really can't squirt it off, and don't do too much. If you do too much, you will kind of melt the baking soda, but you can definitely be generous with the water for sure and make corrections. So now I moved on to the antique wax. The antique wax had a little bit of water in it, which made it super easy to work with, and I'm just tap, tap, tapping, smearing, tapping, smearing. You can see what I'm doing. It was so tempting just to show you the finished result, but that used to really throw me for a loop when I would watch other creators. I really needed to see things sped up, just so I kind of had an idea what they're doing. By the way, you can slow videos down on YouTube. There's a little icon there, and you can control the speed. So if you want to slow me down or you want to speed me up, I watch tons of videos in actually the fastest speed possible, because I like things fast. Either way, whatever works for you, it's good to know that feature is on YouTube. So here I am slapping on some white paint. It's not a super bright white, but a white would certainly work for this part. I just wanted to make it look aged and distressed. So we're making a aged vessel. That's what we're doing. I Googled it, got some photos. They're really hot. They've been hot for a year now. But everybody's gone to the thrift store and bought big vases to do this, and thrift store vases are not cheap. If you watch those videos, they're spending like $14 to $20 for those vases, and I wanted to show you how you could make it for a lot less. So we have a $1.25 Dollar Tree bowl on top. Those bowls at the bottom that I got from Dollar General were $1, 4 for $1, so that's 25 cents, so $1.50, and some baking soda and cheap apple barrel paint, and boom, you have an absolutely stunning decor piece. these really heavyweight, I think they're a resin, but they have wood in the center. They have wood in them definitely, and they're really heavy and make great quality DIY material to work with. And I'm starting off with some wood glue. I'm going to glue these together like you see me doing here. And of course I'm using some hot glue for an instant hold as well, so I can keep working. And then I'm using 2 of the Dollar Tree little window box houses, and I'm going to glue them on either end like that. Then I'm going to give it a coat of white acrylic paint. This isn't chalk paint this time. This is just a white acrylic paint. It's by Apple Barrel. And I'm going to go ahead and paint the inside as well. And then I'm going to let it dry and give it a second coat. This part was a little time consuming because obviously you have to be really careful so you don't get paint all over your chalkboard, although if you do, I guess you could wipe it really quick with a baby wipe or a wet paper towel. I just went really slow with a small flat brush, and I wanted it all to match, so I did it on both sides. And of course, this is a perfect crate for flowers or towels or anything you want to store in it. But I'm making this for me for bills. I have certain bills that if they're not kind of right in front of me on the counter, I will forget about them, or just even appointments. So I thought I would keep this in my kitchen on my counter for that purpose. It looks a little nicer than just having papers laying all over your countertop when you need to keep them in front of you. And I wrote bills on one side, and then I thought on the other side, but first coffee. That's always a cute little saying for the kitchen. And I want to show you guys how easy it is too. I'm writing with a chalk pen, and it's super easy to erase it. I just sprayed water, wiped it with a paper towel, and boom, you're good to go. As you can see right there, you just have to make sure it's wet. So I wet my paper towel a little bit for the last E right there. But I love this. It's working out great, and it's already helped me with a couple little errands I had to do. For this project, I am using 3 of the Shadow Box houses, 2 paint sticks, and 2 of the Dollar Tree signs. I love these signs. I picked up about 25 of them. I'm going to buy more if I find them. I suggest you do the same. They are fantastic for DIYs because you really can make big signs with this by adding and putting them together because they have those grooves. So this time the line where they join up is literally invisible. So you could put 4 of these together. You could I love them. So I do put 2 of them together. I'm using the paint sticks and putting them on the end to cover the holes to make it kind of like a palette sign a little bit. You can do a frame around this if you want. I didn't have to cut those paint sticks at all, by the way. They're a perfect fit. I buy paint sticks that don't have that little weird thing at the top there. They're down below in my description box. You'll see a link. I love them for crafting. I think they're a good deal. Some of them come warped, but you can still use them because sometimes you'll cut them. It's just, for me, the headache of having to cut off the top and having a shorter stick and then having little lines I had to fill in with wood putty or spackling was just, it wasn't worth it. So now I'm taking some of the Apple Barrel paint. I painted it on there, and I was a little too generous, so a lot of it went down to the grooves, and I'm using a scoring tool from the Dollar Tree just to lift that up and smooth it out. It doesn't have to come out. I'm just spreading it so it doesn't look clumpy. Second coat, I'm a little more careful, and I keep it on the top and paint it. And you do need, well, I needed a second coat. I do have some chalk paint. I just chose not to use it because I'm trying to use this one up because once I open this paint, it tends to dry out. But I got a really huge one. So white is white, so it's fine. And now I'm using pewter gray to do a little dry brushing and distressing on this sign. I'm going to give it a quick blow dry, and then we're going to move on to cut out our template for this. Now I got some ticking stripe print. That's really pretty, isn't it? It's perfect for this craft, you'll see. And I have a free printable down below in my description box. So here's a little hack. I cut too much on the right hand side, so I just got another straight edge from the paper, cut it out, and taped it on with some masking tape to fix that so it kept my template perfect. And I cut everything in this entire video where I cut the paper out, I used that template, so it was a great fit. Now I'm using some of the antique wax in, well, this is antique wax by Folklore, and I water it down. Now, I personally think that's really critical if you want a good glide factor. A glide factor is, as it suggests, it just makes things slippery, and it's way easy on raw wood. It just slips around and you use less. It's a great thing to do. You can use a baby wipe, but you might still have a little skid, you know, because it kind of like grabs onto the raw wood. But if you do it that way, it's perfect. This is an applesauce cup. I just cut the rim off of it because I'm after that circle. I need a perfect circle for my wreath. I know right off the bat that if I want to make this look store-bought and make it look nice, it's very critical that the wreath at the top is like a perfect circle. And so the applesauce rim is free, it's perfect, and it gives me a nice guide for that. I also don't have anything on a vine, so I'm taking my boxwood. The boxwood I use is off of Amazon. You can get it down below in my description box. There's a link there, and it's a great deal. Sometimes it comes on sale for $7. I think I've even seen it go lower than $7, and you get quite a bit, even at the full price. It's the cheapest boxwood I've been able to find so far that I like, that doesn't, you know, stink overly strong of plastic fumes. So I love working with this one. But I just take hot glue, and again, this is a Surebonder glue, so it's really good glue, and I'm getting it all over the board there. I have to take some of it off, but I just glue it one by one. And then when I'm done gluing these one by one, I flip it over and I start to put some on the back in kind of the side so they curl around so it looks more like a natural wreath. Some great tools that I have found for crafting too is stuff that you would normally use for like your nails or some other purpose. I'm using tweezers from the Dollar Tree, and I also showed you that some of the boxwood does have some of that over, you know, some of them have the plastic that goes over the edge a little bit. You can use either scissors to cut it off, and sometimes I use the tip of my glue gun to kind of melt it off, just so that I didn't have any of that hanging over. Now I'm using a glue stick. So here you can get the glue stick, you know, in these little shadow boxes, really good up until the edge. You can't really get around the edge with the glue stick because the little wood frame's in the way, so make sure that you concentrate on putting the glue on the paper around the edge as well. So I do everywhere I can on the box, and then on the paper I make sure I go around the edges really, really well, and that works perfect. Now here I found this little wall creation thing here. Isn't it cute? It's called This Is Us, Our Story, Our Home, Our Love, but I'm just going to use the bottom words for this DIY. For this DIY, I got really lucky because they are recessed because they're shadow boxes. You can't really see the plastic where I'm hanging this on the wall at all, because even when the light shines in sideways, the little wood frame blocks it from hitting the vinyl, so you can't see it all. So I got really lucky. But I did choose to cut it as close as I could to the letters to try and reduce that, because at the time when I was making this, I didn't know I was going to have the light working in my favor with the little edges of the frame. So anyway, I switched this around. I put our love, our home, our story, because first I fell in love, then we made a home, and then that all became part of our beautiful story. Now I'm taking some Dollar Tree twine. I made a little bow, and I'm going to glue it on the top of the wreath. And to tie that in, I'm going to make two other little matching bows and glue them on either side of, we can see right there, I glued them to the right of the little words there for a nice little accent piece. And you guessed it, next we're just going to glue these houses down. That's it. And then I'm going to go ahead and distress the edges of this sign too, just a little bit. I'm going to use the Dollar Tree furniture pens for that. I love those for distressing. I used to do it with a paintbrush, and then they brought these furniture pens out, and they're not quite like a marker. They're a little bit more, like if you take a wipe after you're rubbing them, they're more oily because they're meant for furniture. And normally I use masking tape for this part, but this is hanging a little close to where my fireplace is. So to give it extra strength, because this is hot glue and I was worried the heat might remelt the glue, I went ahead and used some duct tape and made a hanger from the back. And that's it. I love this. Let me know what you think. I grabbed some of these boxes in one of my shopping videos, and I'm going to pair it up now with these black candlestick holders. Oh my gosh, y'all, how many of you have already spotted what I spotted? This is like the perfect tiered tray center because it's nice and thin at the bottom where it matters, and it's tall because it comes in that really tall size. Because these come in 3 different sizes, they are so versatile. You can make your tiered tray any height you want. Again, narrow bottom is so valuable. So the thicker, bigger bottom of the candle part there, you know, the bottom of it, I'm using to glue down where it's not going to take up surface area, if that makes sense. And we're just making a really simple high-end looking riser. Look at that. That came up so nice. That's one of the nicest risers I think I've ever made with the least effort. I'm using it on my bathroom counter like this for extra storage. So some of you may remember me finding these at the Dollar Tree, the Hot Wheel tracks. I said I had some ideas for them. So here's another placemat. Love it. Think it's so cute. I wanted to try and make a really high-end looking frame for it. So I'm taking foam board here and I'm leaving about 2 inches around the edge, just extra. I knew it was wider than what I needed, but I wanted to make sure I didn't cut it short. And I'm going to glue the vinyl mat down on top of the foam board. So now we're making 45-degree cuts here. And I don't know if I got a dead pair of shears, but I can't get them to cut the tracks. It was not clamping down tight enough, and this is my first experience with those shears. So someone comment down below and let me know if that's only meant to cut thicker wood and they're not supposed to clamp all the way down, or if I got a dead pair, because they definitely were not cutting. But it's okay because my sharp scissors finished it off. So as you can see, we have a beautiful frame. Look at that. They are perfect for a frame. So I went ahead and took some of the Waverly chalk paint, again in plaster, and I painted these. They did require 2 coats, but here's the thing, guys, I would not recommend you hand paint these. There's all little nooks and crannies, and the paint kind of gathers in them. You can see it right there. I highly recommend you take these out and spray paint them. The spray paint would stick better. You won't get any of the paint pooling anywhere, and it would come up perfect. It still came up totally cute. You can't notice it because, I just make sure I took my little craft knife and went and cut the little pooling paint out of there the best I could, and where I couldn't, I tried to do other details so it would, just distract from that. But it would have been a lot easier if I just took it out and spray painted it. So next time, it was raining that day, and that's why I didn't do it, but next time I will definitely do that. So I just used regular old school glue. It was cheap school glue from Dollar General. Kind of wanted to experiment with it to see how good that glue was, and it's holding up beautiful. Everything's fine. And I glued this down on top of the foam board, and this is while the frame is drying with the second coat. And now we're just going to go ahead and start gluing the frame down. It's that simple. You're gluing it on top of the foam board. So I started by gluing it under the first ridge there and then the second ridge later. And then when it was dry, I just took my craft knife and then trimmed all of the foam board off a little bit at an angle under the frame so you can't see it from the edge. If it's hanging on the wall, you won't see the edge of the foam board. And then I do end up taking some spackling and filling in the little edges there, because you can see the edges right there, wall repair, that's spackling. I didn't like, you can leave it, it doesn't look bad, but I just wanted it to look more finished, and I didn't like the way there was that little crack there. But this is a great Hot Wheel hack, I guess. Great hack. These make fantastic looking frames in my opinion. You can spray paint them white with a primer, a really strong adhesive type spray paint, and then you can take wax and you can stain them if you want and make them look like real wood. You can paint them another color. You can do so many different things with these. Now, I did have a little overlap with hot glue, so I just took some tweezers. Because this is vinyl, it doesn't stick. I did take some tweezers and just peel the hot glue away, and if it took some of the paint with it, I touched it up. But we're all done, and I think this came up super nice. I found this vinyl mat at the Dollar Tree, and I'm using one of the little Dollar Tree rounds that I found at Valentine's Day. You can find those on and off all year round though with the seasons. And I'm just going to lay it down and trace this out so that it fits hopefully pretty even right in the center with this imagery. Then I'm cutting it out, and you'll notice it's not perfectly covering. There's a little flat area at the top. Don't worry about that. We're going to fix that later. But I'm using this craft bond glue that I actually bought by accident at Walmart. It's the extra strength one, and it's really, really good if you want to glue down things that are hard to glue down that maybe a normal glue stick wouldn't handle. That glue stick handles it like a champ. So for the top part, I just cut out a little extra cream colored vinyl off the scrap pieces that I had left. And for this part, I did use Mod Podge. I did that because at the time I felt like I needed it. The glue stick sometimes you don't have as much wiggle room. It will start to dry really quick because it's dry. It is a drier glue, so it's a little sticky, and I wanted some time to wiggle that around and make sure that I got it really close to the seams, you know, so that it didn't have a big line in between as much as possible. This plate is also a Dollar Tree find. It's one of their charger plates. I love these for DIYs and home decor because of the little, yeah, they're not engravings. I guess it's that little design on the edge there. They look like little tiny mini beads. They're like little nubs or something. I love them, and I love to bring them out on purpose. So I'm painting just the edge because that's all you're going to see with the color plaster in Waverly chalk paint, and now I'm using pewter gray from Apple Barrel paint. Now when I first start doing this, I'm really disappointed. Do you see to the left there? It's way too heavy. I start getting it right now. This is at this point it's a very dry brush technique. I just want to hit the top of that design just to bring that design out. So I do end up trying to take a baby wipe there. I'm rubbing it off, you know, trying to see if that works. It doesn't work. It kind of leaves a shadow and it doesn't match the rest of them. So ultimately I do end up taking more of the Waverly chalk paint and plaster, and you can see me doing it right there. I'm just repainting over. It's a wonderful thing about painting, you guys. You can just repaint. I'm repainting over the edge there so I can get a nice clean slate to have another chance at this again. So I go ahead and finish dry brushing the whole edge, and it looks good enough. It's okay if some of them are a little darker. That's nice. It adds a little character, but you don't want it to be extreme where you're getting too much paint in between the little bubbles or whatever. Bobbles? I don't know what those are. If somebody knows what those are, comment down below. So here's the final result with the top part of the vinyl that I put on this round. It did have a little seam, and it turns out that the color plaster in the Waverly chalk paint is a perfect match for this vinyl placemat. So I just added a little paint inside the seam, and that took care of it. You don't see it anymore. And now I'm using some hot glue. Now this is Surebonder hot glue, which is not that expensive. You can get it at Walmart, on Amazon. It's really not that expensive, and it claims to go ahead and hold glass and plastic and wood. It's like a multi-purpose glue, and I'm really pleased with it so far. It does. It's been holding great. I haven't had it fall off, so I just wanted to pass that on. Then I just glue that round on top of the plate, and I am now using some ribbon I got at Temu. It's little buffalo check ribbon there, and I'm hot gluing on. Now I was really torn whether I should put a bow or not, but I just felt like that spot was empty, so I went with the bow. Let me know what you think, but this is in my kitchen, and I absolutely love this. I took it outside, went to my to-go-to little clear acrylic Mod Podge spray, and here it is. So in one of my shopping videos from Dollar General last summer, I found this bowl here, and I was talking about in this video how I made this bowl, and it's supposed to look like hammered copper, and how easy you could probably do that with this one. So rather than just say that would probably work, I decided to try it out for myself. So I'm using the bottom of a tape roll for the bottom of this bowl. You could use like a big mayonnaise lid, anything like that, just so it elevates it a little bit. And of course I'm using the E6000 to make sure everything sticks. And then after it's glued, we're going to take it outside and spray it down with some of the copper spray paint and see the results. And I would really love feedback about this if you guys think that it does look just as nice or close enough, I guess, to like a hammered copper. Let me know what you think. So here is the round tray and the $2 tree placemats. It does not matter what color you get. I chose the green ones, but as you can see, it usually comes in an assortment, but we're going to end up painting it anyway, so you don't have to worry about it. Then you're going to need some Mod Podge. So the first thing we're going to do is glue the center of the placemat into the center of the tray. That just helps you keep it steady so that it doesn't slip and slide around, because most of it's going to be held down with the Mod Podge. You're just going to use glue kind of to tack it down here and there so it doesn't slip. Then I'm going to lift half of it up to put the Mod Podge, and I only go up to like almost the edge, not all the way, and I'm going to use the hot glue at the very edge just to make sure I can hold it down, and of course I do that on both sides. Be careful right here to really press it down in the grooves, because you definitely want this to take on like a shape of a basket. It actually ends up looking deeper, like the depth of it, when we're all done with this craft. So after that's dry, I just flipped it upside down, and we're going to do the same thing on the back, except that I didn't put a little bit of hot glue to hold it in the center because I was just eyeing it this time, because I'm going to be gluing the edges together, if that makes sense. So I wasn't so worried about it staying in the center, because the other one is like a template and it's guiding me where I need to glue. Using Faux art chalk paint in the color Cottage White. It's a one-coat paint. You can use my homemade chalk paint recipe too. I bought this when we first moved here, so I just want to use it up, and honestly it was 18 months ago and I still have more than half left. So I don't know if it is budget friendly anymore to make your own, because all the prices have gone up. I don't know. Somebody, if you're still making homemade chalk paint, let me know if it's cheaper than buying it, because this is definitely a little bit goes a long way. So I'm using a Dollar Tree plate, and then the candle little, you get that in the candle section. It's like a candle holder to make like a bullseye or a dartboard. Needed the lines so I can stay in the lines. So I'm using antique parchment from Apple Barrel Paint, and I added a little bit of the territorial beige, and I mixed colors here because I kind of had a vision. I wanted a certain color. So unfortunately I can't tell you, like a color to go out and buy, but I can tell you the two that I mixed. So in the middle of painting, as per usual, I decided those holes in there don't look good. I mean, maybe if you spray paint this, that would go away, but I can't stand the smell of spray paint, so I prefer the chalk paint. I can put it in my home right away without having to air it out for a couple weeks, so it's super easy to do. You just take the spackling, rub your finger over it, and the holes fill in beautifully. And then I thought, you know what, the edge still kind of gives away that it's not a cohesive piece, so I went ahead and put spackling on the edge of this, which leveled it up big time. Made it look really good when it was all done. So after I'm done spackling, I go ahead and I take the territorial beige and I add a little bit of the antique parchment to it. So it's like the opposite of what I did the first time. The first time I used the antique parchment, added a little bit of territorial beige, and then I take the territorial beige and add a little bit of antique parchment, and voila, this is what we end up with, and I think it's so beautiful. So when it's all dry, I turn it over and I do like a color melt using the elephant gray, just kind of into the brown. I still wanted this to be finished because you might see the back of it depending on how you style it. You'll see that at the end here, I actually put it against a ottoman puff so you can see how big it is. It's a really nice piece of decor. I give it a quick dry brush with some white paint to make it look more like a basket, and we're all done. For this project, I used a photo album. I used to have a cookbook that I lost, and it was full of all of my favorite recipes that I collected over the years. I'm actually really upset about it. So I decided to treat myself and make a really awesome cookbook one. So what I do is I take index cards and I just write down all of my favorite recipes. Sometimes I tweak them, and that's where I keep my notes rather than having like a recipe box or something. I slide them in here. It keeps them nice and clean. I can wipe it because it's waterproof if I get food on, I don't get my cards all messy and stained. So that's what we're doing today. I'm going to cover it with some really pretty material. So we're starting off with this fabric. It's like a farmhouse theme. I thought that was perfect for the kitchen because it always, farms always, to me, when I think farm, I think fresh food, fresh, wholesome food, whether it's fruits and vegetables or meats, eggs, whatever, fresh food. So I'm just wrapping it like a present. I'm kind of giving it a nice little hem around the edges so it doesn't fray, and then I'm literally wrapping it like you would a gift. And of course I have to make some adjustments, like around the spine right here. I do have to make some little slits so that I can fold the little flaps over, because obviously the pages of this photo album where they bind the book on the spine is in the way, so it allows me to kind of fold it down here where it's separate. You can see it right there where I made the slit. And there is also a little open area right there where you would put a photo in the front of this photo album, and I did want to preserve that because I had a cute idea and I thought that would give this little future cookbook even more character. So I'm just kind of tentatively measuring here and cutting out a little window. Now I was off just a little bit, and you can't notice it because of the way I finished the border off on this part, but I recommend that you actually finish wrapping your photo album or book or whatever you're doing up first. If it has one of those little openings in the front, finish wrapping it first where everything's already stretched and glued, and then make your cut for that little window. So I got lucky. I got by with it, but it would have been better if I had done it the other way. So I'm just going to literally tuck this material under the little area where, right there, you can see me doing it. I'm just wrapping it around the edges and tucking it under, because you can't stick your fingers under there. There is some give, or the glue. I have a little spatula there for the glue. The glue spatula, you can also tuck that under there to help you push it, but you can see right there. So for this part, I took the pre-cut little fake photo that was in there, and I'm just taking some of the Dollar Tree burlap, this really light color, which I think is so pretty, and I'm going to glue it on top of that. And now we're just going to give it a quick trim around the edge, and then I'm just sliding it down inside there, just like that. It's that simple. So you can see the little Farm Fresh, I'm cutting it right now, the Farm Fresh little coasters. Those come from the Dollar Tree in a package of 3. I'm just going to use one for this project, and I'm going to go ahead and glue it down like a medallion. I'm not going to use it as a coaster, obviously. I'm going to glue it down in the center of the burlap. Next, to finish this off, I thought it would be really pretty to use this decorative burlap ribbon. I think it's twine, actually. It's not burlap, it's twine. This decorative twine ribbon from Dollar Tree. Also, it comes in a set of 3, and you can find it. It's funny because each Dollar Tree I go to stores this in different areas. I found this over where the rocks were and the shells were one year, and then another year I found it over where they had the ribbon, which in my Dollar Tree varies. So you just kind of have to look in both places, but it's usually on a hook because it's in a little flat package, and it has 3 choices. So I love it. I think it's great for just extra decorative touches. I think it works out great. So we're just going to go around the edge here and make a cute little border. And you'll see here as I'm going, I'm kind of flipping the ribbon on the corners over. I'm going to do it right here. See that? See how I bend it over? That gives it a nice corner, little fold right there. You kind of have to glue it down underneath and on top as well. You'll see I do it right there so that that little corner holds, but I think it finishes it off nicely. And by the way, the new pink spatula that I am using is like the original one that I was using when I started this little trend for spatulas for hot glue so you don't burn your finger, from the Dollar Tree. You can find the pink one. It's a lot firmer. The glue comes off of it right away easily. It just releases and peels off in a big piece. That's what the original one from Dollar Tree did. They have cheapened them considerably in the last 24 months. I'm really disappointed, so look for the pink one. All right, you guys, we're all done. I love this. I love the navy blue plaids and gingham prints, I guess buffalo check and cream fabric that they have at the Dollar Tree. So I went ahead and grabbed some, and I knew exactly what I was going to do with this. Unfortunately, they don't have any red, like ticking stripe or any kind of striped red. Well, they didn't at my Dollar Tree. They didn't have anything red. I would have loved if they had had something in, to complement this, not more buffalo check, but maybe ticking stripe red material. That would have been so pretty, but we're going to work with what we have. So same drill, you guys, plenty of Mod Podge, nice and thick. And this time I did a little bit of a cheat. I thought, what would happen if I took this Elmer's glue? It was that spray purple glue. The container was empty, and I figured the sprayer was meant for thick glue. That's what was coming out of it. So why not put some Mod Podge in there with a tiny, tiny bit of water and see if we can spray it out? And it worked perfect. And then it allowed me to use my hands with my gloves to smear that in. See, I'm spraying it right there. And because I watered it down just a little bit, it actually works great. This was another little hack, you guys. It's a great way to apply Mod Podge and get it. You don't have to wash any brushes. You don't have to wash any sponges. And I got it down in the grooves. And when it dries on cloth, you don't see it. So it's not like you have to have nice, smooth brush strokes in one direction or something. You're not going to see it when it dries. So I go back to the sponge here, but that spray bottle, if you find it, it's the purple disappearing Elmer's spray-on glue. It definitely works. So we're just going to finish it off here with a sponge, and then when it's dry, we're going to do the same thing again. We're just going to cut it off, and my sharp scissors work perfect. You can use a file if you want. You can use the craft knife or utility knife if you want, just anything sharp to cut it off. And then we're going to end up with 3 stars. So like I said, I was hoping they would have something in red because I wanted the farmhouse look, the country look, definitely during 4th of July. And I decided to go ahead and do my own ticking stripe or something similar. I just want something like that, even if it wasn't identical. I ended up not being able to do, or I made the decision not to do really tiny ticking stripes, because at first I thought I'll cover this whole star with little tiny ticking stripes across, but I was worried about the paint bleeding, I guess, and I did it on a little scrap piece off camera, and I just remember thinking it's going to work better if I use thicker lines and a bigger stripe. So we're just going to do one big ticking stripe down the center of this star. It ends up looking awesome, and here I go. And I love doing this part. It is so satisfying when you pull it off and you have a nice clean line. But that's it. I just pull the tape off, and I decide it's not quite thick enough because the star is so big. I do end up adding just one more red line on either side to do the final, ticking stripe. And here I'm just taping the tape right along the edge of the original line. You can see it right there. And I'm covering the little skinny line that I just made completely. And then we're just doing like a medium line. I didn't go for the big thick line. I did a medium line. I was still a little worried that the blue would overpower the red. So I do decide to add a little more red to this star by going around the edge and just distressing it using the red paint. And then I'm just going to attach it together with hot glue. Now, someone asked me what I thought of Gorilla Glue sticks. And I thought, I don't know, I've never used a Gorilla Glue stick or the Gorilla Glue gun. So I went ahead and purchased one. I did. And we are using them now, and we're going to see how they hold up. But so far, so good. And I'm just using the craft sticks on the back, just 3 of them, just to give it a little extra brace and support. We're using some of these wooden beads on some of the Dollar Tree twine. I'm just going to go ahead and attach it using more of this time the Gorilla Glue. Usually I use Surebonder, but this is the Gorilla Glue. And then I'm going to cover that with duct tape for extra support. And that's it for the back. And then I'm using this Dollar Tree ticking stripe ribbon that I found in patriotic colors. I thought it was perfect. And if you watch my Shop With Me videos, you were with me when I found that gorgeous patriotic bow right there underneath. I glue this little wooden star on the center. It's a cutout that you can get at Walmart in a little kit for $1 in the craft section, and we're all done. And I end up hanging this in front of my eucalyptus wreath. I got so many compliments. I think it came up so nice. If you're still with me, thank you so much. And if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to leave a comment or give me a thumbs up. I really do appreciate it, and I love reading your comments. Honestly, that's the best part of YouTube. So this is a Dollar General bowl right here. There's 2 of them. It was that set of 4 that I used in the first DIY. I filled it with some gems, and I used E6000 hot glue to hold this together. Now I put the gems in there for weight, but I didn't think about it. It's actually quite noisy, so I wish I had gone out now and just gotten a big rock. So if you do this, get a big rock and glue it down, unless you don't mind it sounding like a big baby rattle when you move it. I mean, I'm not going to be moving it around, so it's not that big of a deal, but still, always wiser in hindsight when you're doing DIYs. And then we're using the 2 big bowls from the Dollar Tree. So I glue this together, clean it up on the edge because that's really important. You'll see it if you don't. And I'm going to go ahead and use the same exact technique with the E6000, a little bit of hot glue on low heat to glue the rest of it together. Took it outside, gave it 1 coat of this flat white primer, again bonds to plastic, and then I had purchased some of this. I've seen other people use it. It's supposed to be like a textured stone finish, and I had to do 3 coats, and it was still kind of see-through, and it didn't even finish it. I'm pointing out I wasn't impressed. I couldn't even do the inside, as you could see, so I wasn't impressed. But this time we're going to go ahead and make this. It's going to look superior over that original spray paint version anyway, so it doesn't matter. But what the spray paint did do is it has like little texture and like little tiny mini pebbles or something. So I got to skip the baking soda trick. So if you don't have that spray paint, just do what we did with the aged vessel with the baking soda, and that will work just fine. You can also stir your paint with spackling and get a similar effect. It's just not as cost effective. So if you want to do it that way, you could. But I'm going to go ahead and do another aged vessel type look, except this isn't really the shape of an aged vessel. So this will be more like, it reminded me kind of like of a plant pot or a pillar type thing. I still wanted it to look aged though. So we're just working with some different colors than we did in the first one. I did not use the dabbler sponge on this, or maybe I did and I switched back and forth, and that's definitely something when you do these kind of projects, you definitely have to switch around and play around and see which one works best for you. That's what I felt like worked best at the time. So this is just my first coat, and it's just with the white paint. You definitely could stop there. I mean, this wasn't a bad look, but I turned it around and decided that I didn't like where you could see the 2 plastic bowls joining together. I decided to go ahead and fill that in with some spackling just to make it more cohesive, which ends up being a great decision. So with this one, you're going to see me use more gray colors. I wanted this one to look a little bit more maybe like concrete or cement, just for something different. So if you're curious what I ended up using this for, I think, I'm not positive yet, but as of right now, as I'm speaking to you, I think this would make a really pretty toilet roll holder in the bathroom. And I have a great sense of humor too, but you know how there's that joke about sitting on the throne? And I just thought this looked very throne-like. It's kind of like the perfect holder you would expect a king have holding his toilet paper. So that's where it is right now. It might change. But again, with this project, You dab, you smear, and with these kind of projects, you are done when you're happy with the look. That's how they work. So I try to give as much information as I can during the tutorial, but it really is by eye. Just have fun. It's your own personal taste, and make sure you seal it. I will say that. If you checked out my summer solar hack video, I used this lampshade right here. This was a great lamp, especially if you're into modern decor, but I thought, you know what? There's another way that you can use this plastic piece right here. You just grab some wooden beads in any size that you want, glue them on the bottom, and then take it outside, give it some spray paint, and you end up with a super high-end looking modern decor vase. Okay, this is one of my favorites in today's video. It rivals something that I saw in Hobby Lobby not too long ago, and it's huge. When I'm done with it, it's huge. It's so beautiful. Came out better than what I thought, so I always get excited when that happens. But I'm using 5 of these little Dollar Tree shadow box houses, and I'm definitely going to use wood glue because this needs a strong permanent bond. So for those of you that don't know, wood glue bonds with wood at a molecular level with the molecules. So a lot of times when you try to pull your wood apart using wood glue, you'll take the wood with it. The wood will break. It's that strong. It's almost as good as nails as far as, or screws as far as I'm concerned. You can do amazing things with wood glue. And the DIYer's dream, they came out with hot wood glue a couple years ago, and it's wonderful. It holds just as strong, but I wanted the seams here to be really tight and fitted and look like one piece. Sometimes with the hot glue, you don't get that. If you move really quick and make it really thin, you can, but I didn't want to take any chances because I had a feeling, or at least I was hoping, this was going to come out really, really beautiful, and it did. And I just wanted to do it, you know, flawlessly from the beginning. Sometimes you don't want to take chances. So I'm using the Dollar Tree little clips here. I'm going to clip it till it dries, and now it's dry. I'm going to use apple barrel paint in the color Burnt Umber, and I'm going to give this baby one thick coat. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, I finally got smart and bought a package of gray cotton shirts to craft in. Someone asked me, how do you craft using all those nice shirts? I keep seeing these really pretty sleeves. And I thought, well, I do ruin them. I ruin them. So I thought, I better, this is dumb. I better get some shirts that I can just craft in. So after 1 hour, after the burnt umber dries, you have to let it dry for 1 hour. You apply this crackle medium on, and I'm just going to do a medium thickness, one coat, and I am purposely avoiding the wood parts. So I'm just doing the inside part. Now I did turn this around on purpose. This is the back side. 1, the paint adheres better, and 2, the little grooves in the back make a natural place for it to hang on a nail on a wall. So it's going to be perfect for that. Plus those little window, I don't know why they do this to the window boxes. I mean, I can't think of a reason you would have so many little whiteboards all around like that. But anyway, I think they do it for the whiteboards. So now we're going to use chalk paint in the color Plaster. It's Waverly chalk paint. And it's because I wanted a thicker one coat paint for this, because when it starts cracking, I really wanted to see that contrast of the burnt umber underneath. So again, I'm trying to avoid the top of the wood. So when I do hit the wood, I do it almost in a dry brushing manner. And you know, you don't have to be too picky about this. This is one of those, well, it's supposed to be kind of distressed and antiqued. So it's one of those crafts that if you go over a little bit or make a mistake, it just looks better. I will say it's a one-time deal with going over the crackle medium. Don't go over it again. You'll lift it up, and you know, I lifted it up in one area, I did, and I just touched it with a little bit of paint. You can't notice it because it kind of did the same thing in an area where I didn't lift it up. So I think I got lucky, but definitely when you're painting, just paint it once and move on. The crackling happens pretty fast and it's nice and deep. I will say that I saw something not nearly as beautiful as this in Hobby Lobby going for $62. I spent $7 with a bunch of ugly plastic little shadow boxes from the Dollar Tree, and I just made a beautiful, gorgeous old wooden cross. For this next project, I'm using a vinyl placemat from Dollar General and a vinyl placemat from the Dollar Tree. I just thought that would be neat to combine them because I found two very similar ones at both stores, but they were complementary, and I thought I can do something with this in a combination act. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm starting off by just trimming them down a little bit here. You just draw a straight line, and I'm trying to catch the words, or as much of the words as I can. I couldn't do it with the other placemat totally. I did lose some of the word, but I still think it looks fantastic. Even if you cut into some of the words, it's got that patchwork thing going on, so anything goes. So now we're using the Dollar Tree signs. You can find these in the Crafters Square section. They come in brown, black, and white. I'm using a brown one, and I took a handsaw and just cut these down really fast because they're kind of like cardboard. They're not cardboard, but they're, you know, the MDF border. I like it because it's easier to cut than wood, and it's just as firm. So I went ahead and used Mod Podge to glue, I'm covering the sides of this, and then when it was dry, I took my craft knife, also from the Dollar Tree, and I'm using that just to trim. Now, to be honest, I have really super sharp scissors, I have to be honest, and I did do the rest of this with sharp scissors. I actually thought I felt like I had more control, and it came out just as straight. The reason I didn't use scissors initially is because I was worried it would come out crooked, but it did come out just as straight. So if you have sharp scissors, just use those. And now on the end, so I have like two sides that are equal, and I did this by eye. I'm so sorry I didn't measure it. I just kind of tried to make a proportional box, so I did it by eye. I would guess the end was probably about 5 inches, and then whatever was left over on the board. There's 2 boards total that I used here. That's what ended up being the sides. But here I took a combination of both placemats on the ends. I thought that would be neat. So I'm using a little bit from one placemat, and then the bottom half, the little strip right there, is the other placemat. So I just thought that was kind of neat, and it would tie it in. And I did tape them. Please tape it with masking tape or whatever tape you have. Well, masking tape didn't remove any of the print, but it really helped for measuring and keeping everything in place when I was gluing, to have those 2 little pieces at the bottom taped. So I set those aside to dry, and when they were dry, I went ahead and took the Surebonder hot glue. Again, this is supposed to be for all kinds of materials, wood, glass. It is a very strong glue. I've been very satisfied with it, because sometimes with hot glue you can have trouble with temperature changes or humidity. It'll suddenly pop off. This has been wonderful for not doing that. And I'm just gluing all of these sides together to form a box. I'm reinforcing the inside of the seam right here so it doesn't come apart. And then I'll just take my Dollar Tree little spatula that's made for makeup and mask. It's in the makeup section. It's made for mask, I think. Right there, the pink one. And I'm just going to go ahead and smooth it down the best I can so it's not lumpy in there. Now, I will say that these pink ones at the Dollar Tree that have a spatula on either end are much firmer and more similar to the original one that made such a big hit 3 years ago in the crafting scene. Now, here's the stakes from the Dollar General. I had made a video on those, and I had bought about 20 of them. They are great for crafting. If you find them at the Dollar General, they're only $1 and easy to cut, lickety split, same saw. I just cut them down. I'm taking a nail file now just to file off any of the little rough edges. And now I'm using some of the antique wax, watered down. All I did was put a little wax in that tray there, and then use spray water in a spray bottle. It's those little spray bottles again in the Crafters Square at Dollar Tree. And I just squirted it to make it more watery, and it makes a beautiful stain. But you can use paint watered down. You can use a regular stain, whatever you guys like. You can use it, it will work. This is just what I wanted to work with. I like how slippery it is. There's also a water-based acrylic stain that I love. It's down below in my description box from Amazon. That works wonderful too. No scent, no smell, lasts forever. I just want to use my wax up right now, but I will be buying that again. And then I went ahead and for me on this box, I decided to go with foam board for the bottom. So what I've done in the past is I have used Dollar Tree signs to put on the bottom, but they tend to be really, really heavy, and I don't want to see any edges. I want it to look like it's store-bought. So I want to keep the bottom light, and I want to keep it higher than the edge. You'll see what I'm talking about in just a minute. And I'm taking some Dollar Tree material that I found in the craft section, and we're just going to glue it on to cover the foam board. And all I did was wrap this up like a present. You can see the edges right there. I just tucked it in just like you're wrapping a gift. So this is how I did it. This is how I overcome the problem of things not looking store-bought, I guess. I went ahead and took some of the towering blocks and I glued them all around the edge, and then we're going to sit the bottom on top of that. Now you can take a little bit of thin cardboard or a thin Dollar Tree sign and push it up against the other side of those blocks to cover that if you want. I don't care because no one's going to see it, but if that bothers you, you can cover it. Just tuck them up a little higher to make sure that when you glue the board on, it's above the line, because you don't want, these boards don't look good when the edges are showing, they just don't. So we're covering the edge with a vinyl. Now we're covering the edge with the actual little stakes, the wood stakes. They're going to be the legs. You can see I'm doing it here. I'm sorry it's out of camera view a little bit, but I'm just gluing it down right there. That covers the edge of the MDF board. The bottom you can cover it in another way, and if you again tuck it up higher than the bottom, don't glue it where you see the edges. And then to handle the edges on the top, I'm just taking some of the furniture pens from the Dollar Tree. I did accidentally use mahogany when I very first did it, so now I'm going over with the walnut one because I wanted it to be a darker brown. And that's it. Look how beautiful this came out. It's perfect for magazines, towels, flowers. I'm going to stage it with some flowers because I don't have enough magazines right now, but it's beautiful. This is a fun one. I'm going to use 4 of these little shadow boxes. I'm using a blow dryer to remove the sticker. It comes off really super easy. And I'm going to cover them all in paper. And I had some wooden roses left over from Valentine's Day, and they have raw wood on the back. So that's what I end up decorating these with. I have a pinstripe material right there, and I'm leaving everything raw wood because I'm trying to make this an all year round decor piece. It's going to be by my desk. It's going to be another thing that I can use for my mail, to put like paper on my desk upwards and out of my way instead of it just laying on the desk. But I actually thought these were kind of quirky and cool, like for Christmas. You could make this same thing and make these either churches, or put a vintage Santa on each of one of these sides, or a gingerbread house. But you could also leave these as chalkboards, glue them all together into a nice little container and store your utensils there, and then have the actual chalkboards to write the day's recipes on, or notes that you need to remember. There's all kinds of possibilities with this, but I actually thought this would make a really fun centerpiece for Christmas too, depending on what you put on it. I'm just sealing this in with some Mod Podge spray there, and I'm going to stage it with some boxwood, but again, it's going to be used for mail upstairs by my desk, but I think it came out pretty cute. For this next one, you're going to need a wood round. This one is from the Dollar Tree, and you're going to need a candlestick or something like this, any shape you want. This one happens to be from the Dollar Tree. You're going to need a coffee can or some kind of can. I'm using a small coffee can. This is the one, it's not the jumbo size. And then I'm using a smaller Pringles container for this, and I have a total of 2 of these. As you all know, when you take off the label, you have that sticky stuff on the back, and I tried sanding it. It wasn't working. My to-go-to method, because it's fast and easy, and I love fast and easy stuff for this kind of thing for sure, is fire. And I'm just showing you how well it worked. I took just a small flame because I need to actually get a new one of those, but it totally disappeared. So what I'm telling you here is I actually took it downstairs and put it over my gas stove, and in seconds I was just wiping it off with paper towels. You have to wear a glove. Be careful you don't burn yourself, but it's super fast and super effective. Just float it over that flame really fast and you can wipe it off with a paper towel and boom, it's gone. It's not sticky, nothing. So to start off with, we're going to be taking these cans and putting some weight in them because they're not very heavy, right? They don't have a lot of substance to them. They're just cardboard. So I'm using the Dollar Tree stones, and this time I was smart. I went ahead and I glued them down in layers. I glued, first the bottom, and then the next layer I put glue on top, and then I put more glue, and now I glued a pool noodle in there and some foam, and we are definitely compacting these to make sure they don't rattle like a big baby rattle. And I'm going to glue the foam everywhere too, just to make sure everything stays in place, and I did that to both of them. I'm using some E6000, and I'm going to go ahead and glue the bottom of the Pringles can to the bottom of that wood piece there. And whether I'm making a tiered tray or anything on a round, anything I have to get in the middle, I always twirl it around to check and double check to make sure that it's in the center. I know some people do it mathematically. I've seen them do it with rulers and stuff. Measuring, that's probably the right way to do it. So if you know how to do it that way, do it that way. I do everything by eye. I don't think I can remember how to do it the other way. So if you're like me and you do it by eye, it's good to spin it around to make sure it looks even from all directions. So then I took the bottom, what would be considered the bottom of the candlestick, and I glued that to the Pringles can. And now I'm using the top of the candlestick. You can see the little area there where you can put a candle in it. And I'm putting some more E6000. The whole thing is done with E6000, and most of you probably already know this. I'm using hot glue just so I can keep moving so that it stays put. But it actually was wet enough that I was able to slide things around and get them centered. And I put the coffee can, or whatever can you're using, on the top part of the candle holder, and then I weight it down with some Dollar Tree rocks. Anything you have that's heavy will work, and I let it dry overnight. Now I'm taking some spackling and I'm filling in that little hole on the wood base. And I did make 2 of these. You'll see that one in the upper left-hand corner there. I make 2 of these. And I'm taking the same chalk paint that I used in the first craft, and I'm going to go ahead and paint this, just 1 coat of paint. You could use any thick white paint that you have. It doesn't have to be chalk paint. Just make sure, or you can do acrylic paint that's not as, maybe it's a little more transparent, and just do 2 coats. Now I'm taking the antique wax, and we're going to do the faux wood here, and I'm just using a chip brush and making this is just the beginning. This is my base for my faux wood, because we're making a big candlestick holder, like a wooden candlestick holder. And I'm doing what I've heard some people refer to as wet sanding, but I'm just taking a little bit of tissue like Kleenex. I sprayed it with a water bottle on the tip, and I'm just kind of rubbing off some of the wax before it dries here and there to make it look a little distressed. And now I'm taking some cork from the Dollar Tree, and I'm cutting it in half. This is actually a very funny DIY. You guys might get a laugh out of this. When we're all said and done, you'll see why. But I take some black paint here. I did the cork and I put it to the side because I thought first we need to do this. We need to I didn't like how reddish the wax looked. I wanted it to look a little bit more like a dark walnut. And the way that you do that, watered down black paint works perfect. You can see what I'm doing here. I just paint it on, and then you just take a tissue again, dab it off here and there, and I will show you a side-by-side comparison here how it looks, but it really is a very effective way to turn a wood grain that maybe is a little more warm that you want, or more than you want, right there, see, and turn it into like a darker walnut color. So here I am eyeing and putting on the cork, right? And it's not quite big enough to go all the way around, so I cut a little piece out, put it in the back, And then I'm going to take some of the white burlap, or it's not white, it's cream burlap from Dollar Tree, and cut it into strips, pull the edges out, fray it, put the hot glue down. But here's the thing, this is not what I actually ended up making. I'm just putting it in here to show you another idea in case you don't want to make what I ended up making. But I made this. This is why my video was up a day late, because I just didn't like it. I thought you can do better. Look at this, I'm trying like everything because I had an idea, but no matter what I did, it was just coming out not right. So here I go. We're going to take it apart. But if you like that, that's another idea for you guys. You can even stop with the cork and glue something in the front, work with the cork. Turns out when you leave the cork overnight, it sticks on there. Like, I really had my work cut out. It took me an hour of scraping this off with a blow dryer, but I was determined to get it off because it's not what I wanted. And I had used E6000, right guys? So I couldn't rip it apart. So I had to get the cork off. So I took it off. Here I go. Both of them. That's why it took an hour. I took it off, and we're going to do something more exciting here, and in my opinion, much more beautiful. So those are one of the Dollar Tree stick-on tiles there that you can see to the right. I have two of them, and I am measuring the height of the can, doing my best here to get an even cut because I realize they're obviously much bigger than the can, so I'm going to need to cut them down, but I want that beautiful design in the center, so I have to take off the edges on either side, and that's what we end up with right there, and I do two of them. Now I'm just going to take and stick it down in the same way that I did the cork, but it doesn't go all the way around the can, and for this craft it's fine because the tile itself is metallic and the can's metal, so it just all goes together. You'll see in a minute how I pull it all together. I'm taking some super glue gel and I'm securing all of the ends, all of it, just at the ends of each tile so it doesn't lift off the can at some point. And now I'm using the metal ribbon from the Dollar Tree, and all I did was just wrap it around the top and then use that wire there in the back to tie it on and secure it and twist it. And then I just pushed the wire down really flat so you can't see it and cut the tip off. Now I'm taking the paint Faux Art. This is a metallic paint in antique copper, and I'm using a chip brush, and I'm just going to pat it on. So I painted over whatever residue was left from the glue, and it looked really good. So I actually, okay, so just quickly backing up, you don't need that Dollar Tree tile to do this craft and have it look beautiful. You can go ahead and do it just with the can, and if you do, take a little bit of spackling and just put a little tiny bit of subtle texture here and there on the can, not the whole can, just here and there, and it's going to look 100% better because we're going for an antique copper here, and you'll see it at the end why that would look amazing. But that, I realized when I was doing this part, the part that has a little texture looks amazing. Now I also put spackling or filling in between the tile and the can, and I don't know if you noticed in that last scene, there is cohesiveness when I paint, so the tile looks like it is part of the can and connects, which is why I wasn't worried that I didn't have something to do the back of it, because it ends up looking really good. So I'm taking a chip brush and I'm patting on purpose even on the front of the tile to make everything look kind of bumpy. I don't want a smooth texture, you want it bumpy. And the next step is you have to dry it really, really well, which is what we're doing here. And that's what it should look like when you're all done with that step. For the next part, I chose these three colors from Apple Barrel Paint to work on doing some patina here. So you'll see why in a minute here. You don't need expensive sprays to make patinas. You can do it just with some cheap 53-cent Apple Barrel paint. I got it on Amazon. You can get it at Walmart. I chose the lighter color and the greenish color and did a mix, but I've seen it in that darker turquoise too. So it just depends on what craft you're doing, but those are definitely the three colors you need in your arsenal of paint if you want to try and do an antique copper. So I'm just gently dry brushing and patting this color on. And when you get a blob or something that's too thick, don't be afraid to take your fingers and use your fingers to smear it in. It makes it look more authentic. I use my fingers a ton during this process. You're going to see that. So with this, I am going to keep a lot of it in so that you can see what I did, because I know if somebody just did this and showed a quick clip and then just showed the finished result, I wouldn't know what they did. So it does help to actually see what someone's doing when you're going to try and do, well, in my opinion, for those of you, if you don't need it, you can fast forward, but if you do need it, it's very helpful to see kind of what somebody was doing from beginning to end and how they achieved their look. So here it's starting. I'm showing you we're getting there. We're starting to get the beginning look. I don't want you to be scared that, oh, it's not right, it's not coming out right. You just keep going. You just keep tapping it on, keep rubbing it with your fingers, making it cloudy a little bit, green, bluish in the nooks and crannies, because that is how aged copper ages. I Googled tons of photos before I attempted this craft. The next step is just to dry brush over the entire craft, and I do mean dry brush. There's like pretty much no paint on my brush right now. You're just aiming to take away most of the shine because we don't want it to look brand spanking new. I'm dipping a Kleenex in black watered down paint, but before I do that, I want to tell you guys, because I know some of you will say I can't get the metal ribbon, and I couldn't find the metal ribbon for years from the Dollar Tree. It's like the holy grail. So some of you may remember this craft where I do a faux metal accent piece on this sign, and I just use hot glue. I just squiggle hot glue on some painter sticks. I paint it the green color and then dry brush white. It looks beautiful, like oxidized. Actually, I didn't realize it at the time, but that could pass for oxidized copper as well. But you can do something like that on the top of your can. Just spray it with a clear varnish so your hot glue sticks. Wouldn't recommend Mod Podge because that can peel off. Spray it with a varnish, it'll stick that way. So you're taking your soaked tissue, paper towel, whatever you want to use, and you're just barely adding some darkness. I mean, literally just barely. See how I just added, I'm so glad I have a visual, because that's what you want right there. And that, my friends, is aged copper. That to me looks awesome. I would love to know what you guys think. But anyway, when I was done with that part, I was like, oh, I don't want the bottom where the Pringles can is to be that dark. I want to lighten it up a little bit, and I still want to go even a little bit lighter. I really need some feedback on this. Just opinions from all you wonderful crafting arty people out there. Do you guys think I should go lighter, or do you think I should leave it? But here's the Dollar Tree candle glass holder. I'm showing you how it fits in the can. You can put a little tea light down there, or an electric candle just for some twinkle, or you can actually elevate your candle by putting in one of these Dollar Tree candlestick holders. So I'll show you that at the end here, but here's the neat thing, you guys. These are all cylinder shapes, so whether you are working with the Pringles can or you are working with a coffee can or some other can, you can do the antique copper on a Pringles can and make some really beautiful, unique antique copper vases or whatever you want. But I'd really love to know what you guys think. This is my favorite vinyl mat, I think, that Dollar General carried. I was really happy to find it. For those of you that watched that shopping video, you could hear my excitement when I found that particular mat. And I decided to cut some more of the stakes. You can see right there, they're cut. And there's little rough edges. I'm going to take my scissors to cut that off, and then I'll just use a little bit of sandpaper to further smooth the edge down a little bit. But I'm using two of those Dollar Tree signs again in black. There's the wood stakes again. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut my twine off the end. My first thoughts are, ooh, this will be a really awesome long tray. It'll have some of the shiplap type looking wood sticking out on either end. It'll look awesome. The handles will cover the holes. But I do end up invariably cutting these boards down because I feel the tray's a little too long with the placemat. It just doesn't look quite right, and you'll see that later. But I'm taking some white acrylic paint. This is just white apple barrel paint, and I'm giving the wood a dry brush. Or it's not wood, it's the MDF board, but I'm giving it a dry brush. And then, of course, to get these handles to match, I'm going to go ahead and paint them black, right? We have to start off with black, just like the sign. Once they're dry, we'll go ahead and do the dry brushing again with the white paint to get it to all come together and match. If your tray is just decorative, you can absolutely skip this part. I am actually going to use this tray, so I wanted to add a little bit more of a brace where the two seams met together underneath. And here's what I was talking about earlier. I mentioned this. I made the decision when I put the placemat down that I really didn't want this tray to be that long after all. So I tore the handle off before it was finished drying and I scooched it up. So we're just going to cut that end off right there. We're going to make this a shorter tray. And I also thought it made the tray less flimsy too, because there is that center seam. It just creates more stability if you shorten it a little bit. And that's what I did. So now we're using a little bit of gray paint. I just took the black and white paint and kind of mixed it together, and it made a beautiful complementary edge for this tray. And now I'm using wood glue, and I'm going to use a little bit of hot glue just to tack it down so it stays in place. And we're going to glue this last handle down. I don't know about you guys, but I have finally come up with a temporary solution for ruining my clothes crafting. I went and got all those cheap, you know, those men's t-shirts that are 100% cotton, totally comfortable, totally cool, cheap. I think a package of 6 for like $19.99. I just got a bunch of those, and that's what I'm crafting in now. I'm comfortable, I'm cool, and I don't worry if the paint splatters all over my clothes. In fact, I sometimes put it over my shirt that I'm wearing during the day. I just put the big, it's like my craft shirt. I just put it on and I don't have to worry. So, well, when I'm going to be dry brushing or using, you know, dark paints like black, I just put on that cotton shirt, and it's like an apron that's nice and cool. Anyway, let me know what tricks you guys have come up with. I do have aprons, but they don't always work out real well. Sometimes my sleeves get messy, so I just thought, what are you doing? Just buy some cheap t-shirts. You're a crafty person. Anyway, we're using Mod Podge to Mod Podge this down, and we're going to go ahead and seal it in with Mod Podge as well, because like I said, I am planning on using this. It's going to hopefully get quite a bit of use. I was going to put it on top of my ottoman, maybe put my coffee here during the day when I'm, you know, enjoying a warm cup of coffee, watching a movie. It's perfect, but I love this. Now, maybe it's just me, but that saying right there, friends and family gather here, to me is definitely an autumn type sign. It's an autumn type saying. I actually can't wait for fall, you guys. I love crafting all year round, but of course holidays are my favorite time for a lot of people, because that's when the crafting videos get the most views. I mean, a lot of people love to craft during the holidays, but I thought it would be fun. You can leave this up all year round if you want, but it does remind me of autumn. And I went ahead, I'm using one of those Dollar Tree signs again. I love them, love them, love them. Look at that. I used to have to do paint sticks to make like a shiplap look, or we'd have to score the board. Dollar Tree has just brought out so many things to make it so much easier for crafters. It's all ready to go. So I cut the board, and I actually cut on the other side a little bit of too. You can see it on the left hand side. I kind of made it a little bit rough too on the edge because I wanted it to match. I didn't catch that on film, sorry about that, or I did and I didn't put it in here. I caught it on film, but I didn't put it in this video. And all I'm doing now is just trimming this little mat down to fit this sign. I love ticking stripe. That's what we have on the edge there. And I thought, I don't know exactly where I'm going to do with that ticking stripe, but I'm going to cut it and keep it. We're going to get it on this sign. And I decided to put it on the ends just like that in the end there. And I think it complemented it so much and kept that whole country look, because ticking stripe is so country. It's so farmy. Farmy, is that a word? I don't know, but it's just so perfect again for fall, or if you do farmhouse decor, it's perfect. So I'm taking a little bit of the white paint again. We're going to dry brush this. That's the only thing about these signs, is they are very stock, I guess. I mean, they don't do anything with them. They're a blank slate for you, and I like to usually dry brush them a little bit, because otherwise they don't look as much like real wood. So you either can paint them solid, because the paint covers it, you don't know what's going on under there, that it's an MDF board, or you can dry brush it. That makes it look nicer too, but just get something on there to make them look a little bit more expensive, I guess. Now I'm taking a glue stick again. This extra strength glue stick worked like a charm. It held these vinyl mats. I wasn't sure whether or not it was going to because vinyl is really slippery, but it held them beautifully. So that is an option. I cannot vouch for a regular glue stick. I have a feeling it would work, but you'd have to be very generous. But the extra strength one from Walmart definitely works, and I think it runs about $5 for a large one. So I'm just putting that down, and I'm going to go ahead and put the ticking stripe on either side. So now I'm using a black furniture marker. You find them in a set of 3 at the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going around the edge of that placemat a little bit, and I'm not keeping the line totally straight. I want it to look a little bit rustic and, you know, distressed, I guess, and antiqued. And the final step to make this come together so that it is cohesive is to put a little bit of dry brushing on the top of the vinyl mat. And I think this sign came out so nice. It is perfect for an entry table, a console table, or a shelf. This next one's fun, really easy, and so high-end looking. I found these little signs. I think they're signs at the Dollar Tree. They're not, I'm going to make coasters, but I don't think these are coasters. And what I thought would be fun is to make a reversible coaster. So have one for like summer, and then this one to me kind of looks more like a fall, maybe Christmas, because it looks like it might be snow, or it looks a little snowy to me, or like cotton, those, you know, that cotton look that cotton has. It just has that look to me with the colors, the white and the brown. That's perfect for fall and perfect for the Christmas season as well, or even maybe not Christmas, because I always like to go all out and do Christmas stuff, but maybe New Year's, the winter. So I thought, well, this would be neat if we could do a summer one. So I went with a little bit of a coastal look with this next choice of vinyl mats here, and I'm just going to use Mod Podge to glue it down. I mean, literally just trace these out. It's super straightforward. This is an easy DIY, and it would make a great gift too for like Mother's Day or a friend, or just if you go to a party instead of bringing a bottle of wine or something, or an hors d'oeuvre, this would be a fun thing to bring as a house gift. But I just went ahead and glued it down with Mod Podge, let it dry. When it was dry, I trimmed off any excess that was over the edge, and that was it. We had these great little reversible coasters that look totally high end, and they are pennies on the dollar and easy to make. For this one, I'm using more of the same vinyl placemats that I did for the coasters, because I actually thought this might be a nice little set on a table or in a bathroom, wherever you want to put it. And I just took one of the 8x10 Dollar Tree frames, took the glass out, painted them white, like dry brushed them. Sorry I didn't include that in here. I just figured you guys would know what that is. And it, for whatever reason, when I downloaded all of my videos off of my camera, that one's on my camera, but my computer wouldn't recognize it, so I didn't get to include it. But it's not going to interfere with the tutorial. I literally just took the glass out of an 8x10 frame and painted the frame. So I went ahead and cut the placemat down to put it inside the frame, and I wanted to make, we're making a tier tray. I wanted to make a different tier tray because we all have seen so many tier trays. I didn't want to do something that was totally redundant for you guys and repetitive. And I thought, why not do something? Oh, I wanted to show you. That's the hot glue from Surebonder. It's supposed to hold glass, and it did. It was really good. So I just went ahead and used the hot glue. And I'm filling these up with these little gems here because I'm kind of doing a coastal theme. We've all been seeing all the coastal stuff in Dollar Tree this summer. This would even be a boho theme too, but I just wanted to do a unique, different kind of tier tray for something different, so you would have something different in your home and some different ideas. And I thought that this hit the bill. It came up super cute. But I could definitely picture this in a bathroom. If you're into coastal, perfect. For this project, you're going to need some kind of cutting board shape. I grabbed this during Easter time, and I'm just taking off the top board right there. And I was surprised too. I thought the little tacks in the corner there, the thumbtacks, I thought those were going to be pointy like real tacks, but it turns out they are just the top of them glued on there. There is no actual sharp edge. I'll show you right here. See? Get it into focus there, Holly. There you go. There's just glue there. So maybe I'm guessing the Dollar Tree maybe did that for safety reasons, so they don't have something sharp in case they fall off. Yes, that's probably why they did it actually. So here I just sprayed some water on the top of this, and within seconds it was just rolling off. It was super easy, and I'm using the little metal spatula that comes with like their vinyl. I think it's meant for Cricut type or just cutting machine projects, but that works really great for scraping things off. And we're choosing the buffalo check plaid fabric this time at the Dollar Tree. I'm going to cut it out to match the size of my cutting board, and then I'm going to go ahead and use Mod Podge to glue it down. Pretty much for all of these projects, I have to use Mod Podge because fabric is thicker than paper or tissue paper, and glue sticks. And I mean, I guess you could probably glue it down with a glue stick if it was a flat surface, but you still would probably have to seal it with Mod Podge to get it to stay for the long haul. It would be challenging to do it just with a glue stick. So I'm just being very generous with the Mod Podge and gluing it down, and now I'm trimming it. So if you can't find these boards because they were there for Easter, it's okay. The little square piece on the front is just more MDF board. So you can get a little rectangle Dollar Tree sign and use it to cut up for different projects. And you can just cut a piece of it off of that and then glue it on the front here. And again, I'm using tons of Mod Podge, being really, really, really generous and well saturated with Mod Podge so it stays on. Now this is that little square piece I was just talking about. It's dry now because remember I had sprayed it down with water to remove the paper. So I'm just giving it a little sand to create a nice smooth surface. I will say that it did scrape off all the way to the shiny part of the MDF board. So it was definitely like painting more on a plastic. It was nice. It was a nice smooth surface, so I was happy about that. And I'm using a little bit of apple barrel white paint. I'm giving it one thick coat. And when it dries, I have this stencil from the Dollar Tree. It's so cute. It says Farm Fresh. And I'm just going to use a sponge brush. I don't have a little stenciler sponge. I should get one, but I'm just using that. And I'm going to sponge it on. Now, I don't care if this is super clean and the edges are perfect because, you know, I'm okay with rustic stuff. But some people like that really clean, crisp look, which is a pretty look too. And if you do want that, just go ahead and stencil it with white paint first, let it dry a little bit, and then stencil it with black paint, and that will prevent any bleeding underneath. So now it's bone dry. I'm taking and cutting off the edges and using the little utility craft knife there. It's not a utility knife, I think it's a craft knife from the Dollar Tree. And I'm cutting around the edge to make it nice and clean. And I'm just going to make a pretty bow for this. I just make a bow with flowers. I do have a bow video if you want to see how I make my bows. It's linked down below in my description box, and it is time stamped, so it will take you to a bow if you want to go ahead and see. This is just a 2-loop bow, and we're all done. I think this is so cute. I found these nice sized terracotta pots at Dollar Tree in one of my Shop With Me videos, and I'm choosing this sunflower material from the Dollar Tree as well, and we're going to go ahead and cover these pots. Now for this craft you need a lot of Mod Podge. You do, especially if you're going to put it in a window and it's going to have the sun on it, but be generous with your Mod Podge. And it is cheaper to get Mod Podge in those little bottles at the Dollar Tree than it is to buy a bigger bottle at Walmart, just so you know. So that's, you know, it's kind of nice too because it doesn't have time to glue and get really hard around the lid. When you use the little ones, you just kind of use it as you need it. So it's a nice way to store it. It's not good environmentally, I'm sure, because there's more packaging, but it is, you know, it does save money and it is convenient. So with this material, I did end up having to go a little bit sideways because this is a cylinder shape. You know, it's not totally perfectly symmetrical, you know, it goes at an angle. So in order to get the material to lay flat without, see how I'm trying to make it go straight and I'm getting wrinkles, I'm like, okay, that's not going to work. You do have to cut it a little wider than your plant pot if you do this DIY, because you are going to need to go sideways if you don't want wrinkles in your fabric. And now I'm just trimming off the bottom, and you're going to see I kind of fold it back there to see where that line is, and I cut it down at an angle there so that the seams meet together again at the angle. It's fine, it looks good, at least it's flat, and I apply more Mod Podge on the top to finish this off. Love that craft knife from Dollar Tree too. They've stepped up their game. I bought it a year ago or 2 years ago. I bought it when it first came out and the blade kept falling out. It was driving me nuts, but they've made some changes and the blades do not come out now. So it's a really nice craft knife to work with when you consider the price, and it's super sharp. So really pleased with that. Just trim off the bottom. I did tuck it around the edges, as you can see there inside the pot. And now we're just filling it with some greenery, and that's it. That's pretty much just DIY, and it looks so fresh and summery. I love this. So this is the black candlestick that comes out at Halloween, although at 2 of my Dollar Trees I found 2 boxes of them during the summer, so they are still there. This is part of their coastal decor. It's new to me this year. I think it's gorgeous. It's meant to be hung on the wall, but you can easily pull that little piece off like you see me doing there. And then I'm using a little bit of hot glue to glue it down. So for a more permanent hold, of course, you would want to use E6000 or super glue, but I'm just showing you all the different ways that you can use this. These are super fast and easy ways to make high-end home decor. Here's some of the small berries I got last year at Dollar Tree. So for those of you that watched my Christmas video last year, I announced that they were now selling these nice big fat juicy berries, which I think are so much prettier than the foam ones, and they're more hardy. But look at this. Look how beautiful that is just for seasonal decor. And here, pretend this is soap. I had soap once in the shape of roses. I didn't have any rose-shaped soap, but I wanted to show you that could be a soap dish. This is some of the rocks from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to go ahead and put those down and then put some soap on it, or a sponge. I mean, there are so many different ways. For this project, I just grabbed a Dollar Tree wooden crate right there, and I am choosing the color Plaster in Waverly chalk paint. You can paint this any color you want. I just want it to be a nice, soft, creamy white color. And we're going to give this one coat because it only needs one coat with the chalk paint. You definitely don't need 2. But this would also look pretty if you had like a whitewash on it too. So if you do have a thinner paint like apple barrel or any acrylic paint, because they're not usually as thick as chalk paint, and you saw a little bit of wood grain through, it still would look really nice. I actually don't think you would see wood grain through because I have used the apple barrel white paint on wood before and it's pretty good, but there are other paints obviously out there, and you can purposely water down paint too to make it look like a whitewash. So we're just giving it one coat on the sides, the bottom, inside, everywhere. We're just making the whole thing a nice creamy white. I chose this fabric for this DIY, and I feel like maybe it came off wrong on the press there with the colors because it's like an aquamarine. I love the print, but it's not the right color green. It should be more like a St. Patrick's Day green. I don't know if they did that on purpose, but everything looks like when my printer doesn't have enough ink. So I was wondering if this was the way it was supposed to come out. But the fabric that I really wanted to use, that I originally had in mind, was this navy blue small check that I ended up using for a previous DIY, so I didn't have it available, but I think I am going to go back and switch this up and recover it with the other material. But for now, we're using this one, so I still want to show you my idea. You just cut a little square out here, and you're basically making a little mini pillowcase. You're just taking your hot glue, and you're going to glue the bottom, the sides, and then you're going to leave just the top open so that you can put some stuffing inside it. And don't forget to do that with the outside of your fabric facing each other so that when you turn it inside out like a little pillowcase, your seams will be nice and neat and you'll have the right side up. So I had some polyfiber fill that was like batting for quilts. It was flat, and word to the wise, it is better to leave it flat. If I had to do it again, I would just fold it on top of each other, you know, because it comes in like a flat piece, like a quilt. I would just fold it and fold it and fold it and make it really, really puffy, and then just push the whole thing inside my little mini pillowcase and glue it down, and that way I wouldn't deal with any lumps or bumps whatsoever. But we're making a little pin cushion, you guys. I don't have one, and I need one, and I don't have any pins because I didn't have a pin cushion to put my pins. So now we're all ready to go. I have a little pin cushion, and I think this is a great idea to do with the Dollar Tree fabric. It came up so cute. Let me know what you guys think. I had so much fun making all of these. If you guys had fun today too and you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a comment down below and let me know what you thought, and give it a thumbs up. Share the video, and if you'd like to see more of my projects and creations, here's another video I think you'll enjoy watching next.